and I'll let Destrian introduce our host for tonight. And I know, I ain't gonna say I guess, I know that y'all will enjoy it.
All right, I appreciate that, Cousin. And listen, as Cousin said, the community is who we do it for. You guys know that we do it all for the love of the family. Without further ado, it is my distinct privilege and pleasure. I try to surround myself with decent people. I use the word decent modestly because we all know the quality and caliber of the group that we have around us. This gentleman is no different. He's been a blessing in my life since the day I met him. He's been so additive to the things that I've done. He's connected me to the new community that I have here. Almost 15 years I've been here. And I would say that part of my impact really took off when I was able to learn about his mission, his vision for people. If you don't believe me, just go check out what he does. I don't really know when he sleeps. I just see the results. This gentleman is a personal friend of mine. We went through the same life coaching program. We volunteered for years together. But more importantly, this is a person that when we talk about, hey, who do the strong people call? You got to have a stronger person. This person's strength in the face of adversity has been something that has really helped me. And you all know what I've experienced through COVID or what have you. But he's been one of the people that really helped me navigate this situation, navigate the things that I have going on in my life, and really come back with a clear conscience and being able to conquer each day by strategically planning for what it is to come. And so I really can't do him justice. He's a principal here in our local area, but he's a community activist. He's a leader. He's a person that drives inclusion. Everything that you could possibly imagine that someone that our trade club would affiliate themselves with, he embodies it. And so I'm very comfortable saying to our community that you can trust the words that you're going to hear. More importantly, you can trust the actions that you're going to see from him post-call and going forward. I introduce to some, I present to others, my good friend, my brother, Mr. Harold Butch Ingram. My brother, the floor is yours. And by the way, welcome to Global FX Trade Club. What took you so long, bro?
Thank you, Mr. Wells. I appreciate that. All those wonderful things that were stated, hopefully I can live up to that this evening.
You better.
But I'm definitely appreciate the opportunity to be before all of you here tonight. So just a little bit about me before I kind of touch on a couple of things that I think will be beneficial for all of us, myself included, when I speak and when I have conversations and when I have opportunities to share, I'm learning as well. And then conversations that come as a result of me speaking allow us to grow in addition to that. So me, I'm a principal at Glasgow High School here locally here in Delaware. For anybody who's familiar with that or anybody on here that's from Delaware, I know you guys are from all over. So I've been a high school principal now 3 years, but I've been in education 23 years. I've done the K-12 circuit, so I've seen kids from kindergarten all the way through high school, and I also taught at the college level as well as an associate professor. So I've kind of been teaching. Education's been my thing, my niche, my gift, I guess, if you would, or my why, essentially. So I get excited every time I get an opportunity to have conversation about my kids, about my life, about what I'm doing, and how it can translate into hopefully helping others. Because it's, as you educate young, you're also educating the older, right? Like ourselves, as I speak to all of you here to this evening. So I also have something called WorthAnHour. WorthAnHour is a Instagram website that I've actually started because what I found through time is that we have to invest in ourselves. We have a lot of demands on us daily. We have a lot of people pulling on us. A lot of people have expectations of us, some that we meet, some that we don't, depending upon the day. But we have to realize that ourselves, we are personally worth 1 hour a day investing in ourselves. And that could be something as simple as sitting quietly with yourself, going to the gym if you'd like to exercise or be healthy, reading books, whatever that is, but it has to be you. It has to be you time, and you owe yourself that, right? You owe yourself, out of 24 hours in a day, minus your sleep time, you owe an hour to yourself every single day. So that's kind of where I take it from the youth, from the young kids that I deal with every day, or the young adults that I deal with every day, into that adult realm, and try to motivate, inspire, and get other people on board, I guess, if you would, with life, and how important you are to your life, and how important not only you are to your life, how important you are to other people's lives. And if you're no good, we all know that you're not, that no one else that in your life is good. Your family and everybody that look up to you and appreciate you and need you and look for that guidance and support. If you can't take care of yourself, you're of no use to them. And that's what this is, this Worth an Hour that I do is pretty much about. But before I get started, I'm a quote guy. So I have this quote that I know some of you have heard before, but I would like to share that as I begin to kind of just share some things that I think will be beneficial as you guys move forward in life, personally, and also professionally, and also in the business that you're in right here. I think is important in a way for us to connect it and tie it. So it's called Our Deepest Fear. So I know you've heard it. You may have seen it. Coach Carter. I don't know if you've seen it. If you saw the movie Coach Carter, you probably heard him say it at the end of that, or you may have just heard it before. And the quote basically talks about us and how important we are to ourselves. So it's our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be? Brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so that others won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is in all of us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And as we overcome our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. And I start with that quote because I tried to do it from memory, so I messed up there a few seconds, so I apologize for that. But I start with that because I don't think that we really realize how powerful we are as human beings. I think that a lot of times our power within us is so great that we become afraid to take chances. We become afraid to reach beyond our limits or the limitations that we put on ourselves. And when in reality, we don't have any limits. There's nothing that we cannot do. Everything that's happened in our lives, everything that's happened in life, someone said couldn't happen or couldn't be done. So that in itself gives us hope that whatever it is that we put our mind to and whatever it is that we want to do can be done. And we try to instill that in ourselves, we instill that in our families, our children, and whomever else, again, that we come in contact with, people that you just come in contact with on a regular basis. But what I wanted to speak about tonight briefly, and I'm also an educator as well, so I know talking too much at people and not engaging and giving opportunities for feedback or conversation can be a bit much. So I know my attention span, so I'll make it brief but meaningful and powerful, is about time. Because time is the one thing that every one of us have. It's equal. That's the only thing in life that we have that's equal. We don't have the same money. We don't have the same, relationships. We don't have the same number of kids. We don't have the same anything other than time. So what we do in our 24 hours a day is critically important to our overall success, happiness, and just overall feeling in life. And I do a lot when I have conversation. I do a lot when I talk about happiness and what defines happiness and what makes you happy. And you're the one who makes you're the one who is responsible for your own happiness. But that still relates to time too, because what you do during that time will also translate into how happy you may or may not be in your respective lives. But it is the great equalizer. It is the one thing that we have control over. Probably one of the very few things that we have control over is the amount of time that we spend on specific things in our life. What you do, who you are, and what you become is directly related to or connected to what you do with your time or those 24 hours. Dr. Miles Monroe, I follow him a lot of things. Well, he's passed away, but I follow a lot of his conversations and his work, and he talks a lot about time as well. And what he says is time separates us and keeps us from being in a permanent position. So with that being said, an example would be, so if you're injured, you get hurt, you're only hurt for a few seconds, right? You're not hurt forever, because time passes and time allows you to heal and time allows all of those things. So it's important to put that into perspective when we think about time. And time is sacred. And I talked about it in the very beginning when we talked about people constantly pulling on us and asking of us and needing, and our ability to be able to say no from time to time. I mean, we have to be able to say that. No is probably one of the strongest words, but it's also one of the hardest words to say, especially to those people that you love, care about, and you really want to help and support. But we have to be in control of our time and have to be in control of what we are able to do, what we want to do, and what we allow other people to have us to be able to do. Time can also be wasted. So we also have to be mindful of the amount of time that we are wasting. And an example that came to me today, I was just thinking, and I did a little Google search, and I'd be curious to know if anybody knows. I won't throw out a question like that because the group is a little bit too large to do that for feedback in that format. But how much time we spend in our commuting back and forth to our jobs every single day. So if we think about the amount,
one second. We believe in high engagement in this group. Family. Okay. Drop it in the chat. Let Mr. Ingram see it. How much time? What was your question? Repeat your question for me, brother.
All right, no problem. The amount of time that we spend a day in our cars, or per week. I mean, I would say per week. Let's do it per week. So somebody put in there too. That's probably per day. But how many hours a week we spend in our cars?
For some of y'all, that means Instagram.
Or commuting. Correct. So we have 40, 20, 29, 12, 10, 12. All right. The average amount of time. So some of these numbers are high. Some of you guys have some long commutes, but the average, because again, we are talking about an average. So the average amount of time that we actually spend in our cars per week is approximately 7 to 8 hours, which is equivalent to about 15 days out of the year we are traveling to and from work. So if we think about that in perspective, and we think about that in terms of time, think about how much time we're wasting, if you would, in our cars and what we could be doing. So one of the things that I encourage some of our kids to do, and some of our adults that I speak to on a regular basis, is audiobooks, learning, hearing things, working in the car. Because if you think about it, an hour a day, if you were to commute an hour a day and your travel time was an hour a day, you would have 365 hours. We're talking about weekends, which are probably more time, but 365 hours of learning about a specific skill or a specific thing that you're interested in. You would be what they would consider an expert in that area just by listening to something that is in the area of expertise by an hour a day for that 365 hours. 365 hours per year. But a lot of people don't think about that, right? We don't think about how much time we actually have when we talk about throughout the course of the day. When we talk about wasting our time. Time, the most important part about time as well. Self-care. Anybody want to throw in the chat? What do you do for self-care? What are some things that you're doing to take care of yourself, other than others, taking care of others? What are you doing personally for yourself to take care of you? Exercise. Pamper Sunday. Would you like to speak to that? What exactly happens, or would you want to type in the chat what that is? Because I think that's important for people to get some ideas about what we can do. So whoever put that in there on that Sunday, what we're doing on Sundays.
Yeah, I want to know about that Sunday too. I saw someone say therapy, and I certainly don't want to steal your thunder here, but
no, sure.
I also want to normalize that it is important that whether you're getting therapy from a professional or you're being therapeutic with the people in your life, therapy is important. Like we have so many unresolved issues in our community, and to Mr. Ingram's point, we're wasting our time on it when we could be spending time resolving these things and moving forward.
Good. So there's a lot of good things that I'm seeing in the chat, and like I said, I don't want to call anybody out specifically to expound upon it. I know that Mr. Wells says that he likes high engagement, but it's all personal to each other. But as you can see, all of you have access to the chat. You can see some of the things that people do to take care of themselves, and that's what it could be. Anything, whatever it is for you, is that time that needs to happen for you to take care of yourself, to re-energize, to become all that you can be. for lack of a better word. Time also, when we think about time with relationships, how much time are you investing in personal relationships? Who are you spending time with? How much time are they taking from you, or how much time are you giving of yourself to that person? And the family, I get family. Family is absolutely important. Kids are absolutely important. All of those things are important, but we must be mindful of the amount of time that we are actually spending. So what I encourage people to do a lot of times is do a self-assessment, do a time inventory assessment. So what are you doing throughout the course of your day? So if you would, just this week, take one day, pick whatever day it is this week, and you just sit down that day and basically at the end of the day or during the day, depending upon how many things you're actually involved in, what you're doing, kind of just write down what's happening throughout the course of the day. Write the downtime, if you're watching, whatever it is, and just do it. So that way you're able to monitor and see exactly what it is that's happening throughout the course of the day. We would be surprised, you would be surprised how much you're doing, or what you're doing too much of, or what you're doing what you're not doing enough of. And there has to be a balance, and there has to be an even balance for you to be able to do what you need to do, whether it's here, like I said, in this particular, and in your home life.
Is it frozen?
I think it is.
Yeah, it's frozen on my end. Butch, take a do a refresh or unmute your secondary device. Last thing we heard was, what are you doing in your home life? And I can fill this space until Mr. Ingram is able to come back. And family, hopefully this doesn't sound foreign, right? Hopefully this doesn't sound foreign to you, because when he talks to you about certain things, time being one, self-care being another. I see Mr. Ingram is back. Turning right back to you in a second, sir. Time being one thing, self-care being another. Also thinking about the people that you're investing your time in, people being one of four things. You can add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Two of those things none of us want. Okay, and so I think this is a very important conversation as we start our motivational Mondays, because how we spend our time is going to be directly correlated to our go forward results. So we'll build upon this. We'll go from here, but please, by all means, put your feedback in the chat. We'll give you an opportunity before we close out to come off mute. We're going to have a very direct conversation. You're going to come off mute, ask Mr. Ingram anything. And there's some things that I want to flush out with him, because he's a very modest person. He's not going to he's not going to pound his chest in front of anybody. He's just going to put his head down and do the work. That's who we are. But I think in terms of how he opened the call, when you see someone else that you know they're great, it is partially your responsibility to also help shine the spotlight on them too. So that's why I said what I said in the group today. If you have that strong friend that just needs some encouragement, this call is for them. If you have that person who's being overlooked and they need to walk in their purpose, and you know they have what it takes, this call is for them. Maybe it's not you that's going to move them to action, but you can help them take action. And that's something that we also, I think, need to get better at as a community. I had to personally let it go. I'm not going to be able to save everybody, but I can introduce you to somebody who might. And so if we can have that attitude, again, we're in service. And so, Mr. Ingram, I want to come back to you. I know you think you got everything situated. So back to you. Last thing I heard personally, Stacy V, I think I heard you come off mute, was you were talking about the amount of time we're giving to other people and what they're taking from us, not necessarily in a negative way, but just the space that it takes, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yep, I second that.
So I apologize that the connection just dropped. I have another device over here if that happens again. So we should be in a good space. So I apologize for that. Everybody can hear me pretty good. Can you hear me, Wells?
We can hear you and we can see you crystal clear. We can see you.
All right, thank you. So I kind of left off just talking about doing things, right? And I know you had some fruitful conversation while I stepped away, but you can do a lot of things, and there can be a lot of good things. I'm not saying that you're doing bad things, but is it the right thing? And you have to think about what is the most important thing to do. There's a book by Gary Keller called The One Thing, and he speaks about just focusing on what is the one thing you can do today that's going to have the most impact or the most meaningful impact on outcomes for whatever you have going on in your respective lives. And it also speaks to the fact that in the morning is the best time. I know you guys have early calls and those kinds of things early, but the best time to actually do the things that are important to you, the most important things to you, need to happen first thing in the morning before life happens. Because we say we'll do it at 6, we'll say we'll do it at 7, we'll say we'll do it whenever never happens. But if you do it in the very beginning of the day and get it out of the way, you will get it accomplished, and you'll be less likely to push it off or not have it become accomplished. Kind of like me. I wake up, I know you guys wake up early as well. I'm up about 3:30 every day, just kind of getting the day started, going to the gym, doing all the things that I know I have to do to be able to have an impact on the world today, if you would, and what I'm trying to do. So
why, Butch?
Yes.
Why?
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 Why? 3:30. Why?
3:30. Why?
Yeah. Why?
Why do I get up at 3:30? I get up at 3:30 every day because I do my inspiration. Like I said, do my WorthAnHour. I get my videos out. I share it before everybody gets up. So it's the first thing that they should see. However, with that caveat to that, you should not grab your cell phone and look at Instagram and look at those things first thing in the morning. They're saying that you shouldn't do that. However, I do put the information and the messages out early in the morning, 4 times a week rather, just to kind of get people motivated and inspired for the day. So that's why I get up, because I know it has to happen. And when you just like you do with your respective jobs and your positions, you feel like you're the one that has to make it happen. And if you don't do it, then it won't happen, and it won't get done. So that's why I do that. And like I said, for the community and for all the people that lives are affected on a regular basis by things that are shared, and just life in general, because life can be draining, life can be overwhelming, and we need something positive to keep us going in that direction. And again, it's all about that time and that time management of what it is, of what it is that we're doing. So I want to read one more thing to you, and then I'll open it up. And then I know that you had some questions for me too, also, Mr. Wells, but it's called Into Practice. And I'll also share this with him if he wants to push it out to the group, if you want to keep it and have a copy of it. It's not mine personally. I did not write this. However, it is very, very, very important. And it says, the true priorities in your life are the ones that you actually put into practice. The beliefs, the values, the commitments that are sincerely yours are the ones that are evidenced by your actions. You can talk all day about what you're going to do or about things that are truly important to you. What really makes the difference is not what you say you'll do, but rather what you're actually doing. Your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs are given life by your actions. Your values, your commitments, your priorities are made real and given meaning when you put them into practice. The person you become depends not on who you wish to become, not on who you would like to become, not on who you hope to become. The person you become depends on what you do with every single moment that you live. Those moments are yours to spend and to fashion as you please. In fact, there's one right now that you can immediately begin to use. Exactly what values, goals, ambitions, and priorities are you willing to put into practice? Because that is the person that you will be. And that's Ralph Marston. So that came from him. It's just basically talking about put it into practice. So everything that we've kind of been talking about today in terms of time, you just have to decide what it is that you want to do and just do it. And I know, like I said, you're all professionals and everybody knows what to do, but we got to make sure that we are doing the right things, because people fail in life, not because they don't know, but they just don't know what they want to succeed in. They don't know what they want to do. And that's where the ultimate failure comes from. Not that they don't have the ability to make it happen. They just fail because they really don't have any idea exactly what it is they want to do and how to go about making that happen. So that's just a little bit of what I kind of wanted to share in about the 30 minutes or so that I've kind of been having some conversation. And I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about that. And again, it's just about what I like most is just being able to just inspire, have people think, and just give people an alternative view on life and a perspective, because we also know that our perspective and how we view things also has a tremendous impact on outcomes in our life. They use that, I hate to use this analogy, but they use it all the time. You know, is it half full or is it half empty? You know, and about your perspective and how you view specific things. So, Mr. Wells, I think that's pretty much kind of what I wanted to share in terms of time and how it affects us and what we need to do. And I think that it can be beneficial if applied appropriately and if we pay really attention to it. So I encourage all of you on here too, definitely one day this week, just so that you get a gauge, a baseline, just to kind of see where is all your time. What are you doing with your time? What are you actually doing every moment of the day? And where can you make slight adjustments that will not only improve your quality of life, your family's quality of life, and just improve overall outcomes for whatever it is that you're doing.
Mr. Ingram, I appreciate you. I appreciate you more than you could ever imagine. One thing about this group of individuals that we are collectively connected to, everyone has a lot going on. And we know that this group sacrifices a lot to show up for us. This group sacrifices a lot to show up at 3 a.m., 8 a.m., 7 p.m., and every other time in between, Saturday school, what have you. Everyone is sacrificing of their time. But I think you made a very important point. I took some notes because from the very first time that I met James and/or Dunny, family, you know that note takers are the money makers. And taking notes is important because you need to be able to reflect on things. I typically don't take a lot of notes. I'm a listener. My wife can talk to you all about why she decided that she wouldn't marry me in college, and she ended up marrying me anyway later. But that's on a cocktails and conversation episode, not this one. But what Mr. Ingram is talking about right now resonates so well because it all goes back to how we divide our time. So your time has to be divided. It is an uncorrelated, unequivocal choice that you have to make. The world and the universe forces you to make it. How do you divide your time between your family, your job, your leisure? You don't have a choice. It has to happen. I'm here to tell you that something always suffers. Your goal is to decide what suffers less each time. That's your goal. Something always suffers. My wife is on this call. Many times my wife has said, I can't believe you're still on the phone. Even Mr. Ingram has asked me, he said, man, you have really been occupied this past year. And I said, man, it feels good. It feels right. I know I'm supposed to be spending time here. So we're spending our time in places that we find valuable. And you know what ultimately happens if you're spending your time in the right places? That place inevitably finds a way to pour back into you. It finds a way. That's not a magical thing. That's a law of the universe. 48 laws of power. Spending time in the right places, you attract what it is you want. As a trade club, we've attracted each other, family, and it's no coincidence that I've known Mr. Ingram from all this time and that he's now talking to you tonight. His background is extensive. This could be the first of many conversations. Let me just kind of close with saying this before we kind of go into some Q&A. What I want you all to take away from the conversation tonight, what I took down is this. How do we spend our time? Now, we have 4 things that we say we do better than most people. And if they're our guiding principles, we should probably be spending our time doing these things. Just probably. Somebody help me. Because I don't want him to think I'm making this up. What do we do? What are our guiding principles? Come on.
We serve, we support, and we trade.
So, Mr. Ingram, if you didn't get that, as my neighbor's dogs exits their home and these 180-pound dogs bark, I'm going to keep talking. But our 4 guiding principles: we trade, we serve, we support, and we refer to number 1. We can only control our behavior. And I think that's something that you were talking about earlier. You see it in the chat. We trade, we serve, we support. We refer back to number 1, we trade. The unlocking of the potential is, I think, where we are as a trade club and an organization. We have to fully unlock our potential and be unapologetically great so that we can go forward. And therefore, we need to be spending our time all in a defined way. The leaders of the community have a defined way that they need to be spending their time. The members of the community also have a very defined way that they need to be spending their time to get the results that they want, because they're not going to get that time back. Anything you're sacrificing your time for, according to Mr. Ingram, you need to be getting a return. You have to. So if that hour of the day you dedicate to yourself for trading, get a return. And sometimes, we talked about this a few weeks ago. What do you want to do versus what you need to do? If you don't need to take that trade, don't take that trade, because you don't want to waste your time. And listen to this last part, value of money. Your time value of money means, why lose money while you're spending time? That's a losing proposition. Don't do it. Mr. Ingram, I appreciate you, man. I know you could have went deeper. I appreciate you for taking this inaugural call. I told you it was a tall task. You accepted it. I'm so grateful for you, man. What you've done in my life. You're a very trusted person for my family, and I would be cheating the community if I didn't introduce them to you. Cousin Ed, do you have any thoughts before I put Mr. Ingram on the hot seat with the community?
I just want to say thank you. It was very profound. I want to ask one question before the community opens up. Is it cliche, the Nike phrase, just do it? Because what I got from what you said just now is just do it. You got to take the time out. If you can expound on that.
Absolutely. So what I found, and this is me personally, and also just in some conversations with others, is that we will not take care of ourselves and just do what we know that we need to do for us. We get so consumed with supporting, wanting to be available, and wanting to assist others, which is admirable and honorable and understandable, if you would, but it does not allow us to operate in our gifts. It does not allow us to be what we were called to be when we are constantly pulled away from that. So yes, Nike, like Nike says, just do it. You have to just do it, because if you don't, you will be unfulfilled. You will not be excited as you could be, and you will not live the life that you were destined to live by allowing others to control your time.
I definitely appreciate that. Like Destrian said, I mean, we definitely will have you back, and we definitely appreciate you. Destrian, you want to go ahead and open up to the fam to ask any questions?
I absolutely do. So, family, you know how we do this. We try to do things decently and orderly, but we want to make sure that as many questions can get answered as possible. And let me be the first to say that nothing's off limits to Mr. Ingram. I am volunteering him to answer any and all questions, but no, seriously, if you have a question, please raise your hand in the chat. If you come off mute, if there are two delineating voices, we'll try to acknowledge the first one. I'll kick things off in the interest of fairness, because I did tell him that I would ask a few questions, but I did not tell them what they were. One of my questions is this, man. You know, I've known you for a long time. And again, you're modest. A lot of people don't know all the things that you have to do. So what would your advice be about finding that balance and creating it in your life when you are in a person that's in demand? You have family tugging at you for family needs. You are the go-to person in your profession. You are the friend who gives constantly. You're everybody's person. How do you find time for yourself? And I know what you said about getting up as early as you get up, but I don't want to cheat the community. That's why I asked you, why you get up that early? So my question is, how do you find the balance? How do you create it? And what type of sacrifice is associated with that? And hold on, last part, what have been your results though?
Okay, so the reason, to answer your question a little bit more clear, is the reason that I get up that early is because I only get 3 hours of sleep. No, I'm just kidding. But I probably only get 3 hours of sleep. So I need 21 hours to be able to accomplish it all, which is why I get up as early as I do. But no, in all seriousness.
Repeat that. No, repeat it. Repeat it.
No,
how many hours? No, this is serious. This is a serious group of people. No one's going to be offended.
All right. So
how many hours do you need to accomplish your goals?
So right now I'm probably working on 19, 20 to get through everything that I need to. So about 4 hours of rest, if you would, throughout the course of the day. So what I do typically to be able to, and this is something that I do also with my Worth an Hour, is that on Sundays is like my planning day. I just plan out the entire week. I have to plan out my time. I have to write down specific things that I need to accomplish for myself. So when you ask, how do I get things accomplished for myself personally? I have to write it. I have to schedule it. I have to schedule my me time or schedule time to do what I need to do for myself, or it doesn't happen. The difficulty comes in and always and will come in for many of us and does probably for many of us. We allow other things to still take away from that time. So if I'm saying from 5 to 6 on Wednesday, I'm going to treat myself to dinner or whatever, or I'm going to, take the kids here or whatever it is, I have to do it. So it has to happen on Wednesday, and nothing can trump that short of an emergency. Obviously emergencies happen and we have to, be responsible adults as well, but you have to plan it. They say what is monitored behavior is improved behavior. Things that you said, taking notes, you write things down, you have to see it. It has to be in front of you. It has to be a constant reminder of what it is you have to do. I have probably 20 alarms going off in this cell phone of mine, just reminding me of things that have to happen or things that I have to do. So that way I kind of stay on track and stay on task, because I do have a lot of things going on. In addition to just being a high school principal who's on call 24 hours a day, essentially, you have the other responsibilities. So you have to write it down and you have to make it happen. In terms of results, I've found that I'm happier, right? Because I know that I've accomplished these things. I find myself in a better place educationally with the kids at school. I find myself in a better place community-wise because I'm able to accomplish the things that need to happen for the city. I just find myself in a much better organized, structured place. But a lot of people are afraid of structure and discipline. They don't want to be boxed, if you would, but you're really not boxing yourself. What you're doing is you're allowing yourself to accomplish more and not confining yourself, is what a lot of people feel like you're doing when you schedule it. Some people just like to be free, but I have to structure myself. Hopefully that answered your question, sir.
Can you repeat that part about discipline? I think that's one of the biggest things most of us lack.
Yeah. Right. Mike Tyson said it best. He said, discipline is doing something that you sometimes hate to do, but doing it like you love it. You just have to get in that routine. The routine creates the habits turn into lifestyle actions, and it just becomes easier for you if you do it on a regular basis. But it does take discipline, and it's not always easy. Just like many of you get up for your calls early in the morning, it didn't go very well in the beginning, I'm sure. But after you got into the habit of doing it and realizing this is what I have to do to see this result, it becomes easier for you. And when you have a goal in mind, or when you have an expectation and you have something that you're going towards, it makes it easier if you structure it to be able to do that. A little bit easier.
Appreciate you, bro. Family, what do we have from Mr. Ingram? Cousin and I can't be the only people with comments or questions. He and I have these conversations every other day. This is a part of, my, I feel like everybody should have a personal board of directors. He's certainly on mine. I have another member of my board of directors on it. If no one else asks a question, I'm going to go to him immediately. So I hope that he's not out walking or enjoying himself at dinner, because I'm going to come to him anyway if no one has a question. So with that, I'll just go to him now. Mr. Edelin, if you could mute, please, sir. Ken Edelin.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Salutations are absolutely given. Ken, you have a bird's eye view of what this gentleman is doing, has been doing, based on your relationship with not only me but him, but for the group again. And Mr. Ingram is not a part of our core group, but he's an extended family member by way of supporting anything that myself or Mr. Edelman does. Can you talk to the group a little bit about his work ethic and some of the things that we've talked about offline, where we're calling him, asking him, can he go home and get some rest?
Absolutely. And first of all, I would be remiss if I did not say thank you. I know we're calling him Mr. Ingram, but I call him Butch. As always, his words are inspiring. His words are relevant, and his words have put us in a better place. I am probably 10 to 15 years older than he is, but I have no shame in saying that he is a person I look to for guidance, look to for wisdom, but more importantly, I look to for friendship. Because he is that type of person. He is a giving person. He is a loving person. He is a caring person. And in his friendship and his being there has proven invaluable to me. And I know it's not easy to answer. What was it that you had to go through? What life lessons did you have to live through and or survive to get this level of wisdom? But maybe if you could touch on a little bit of your past and how you grew up that helped you to get to the place where you are now, that would be instructive and helpful to myself and some of the other people in the group.
So appreciate it. I appreciate the words and of support of me and the things that I've been doing. But in terms of how I got to this point, I would say that what happens is, or what happened for me is unlike some. I'm not sure, like I said, what many of the backgrounds are of the individuals on the call. You miss a lot of things in life that are important when you're not organized and structured to make things happen. So you miss birthdays, you miss important events in kids' lives, you miss specific things in relationships, you miss a lot when you don't organize and structure your life the way that you should. So what I had to do the hard way is obviously miss a lot of those opportunities to spend the time, because time is one thing in life that you don't get back. So that wasted time, you'll never get back. The things that you missed, you'll never get back. So you have to appreciate and make it sacred and make it important enough to get everything that you want out of life in the amount of time that you have. Because one thing that we know for sure, we don't have unlimited amount of time, and nobody knows when that last moment is going to be, when that last moment will be for yourself or someone else in your life. So you have to be able to be organized and structured to do that. And then being in the school, some of the more difficult schools that I've been in here in the state of Delaware, I know there are some a little bit more challenging than the ones that I've been in. However, it's forced you to also be structured and organized, because you realize the needs of the community. Because when you're working with kids, when you're working with youth, and when you're working with adults who are responsible for educating and supporting our youth, you have to be very intentional in what you do on a regular basis. And if you're not, it's not like working at another profession where it can not have a major impact. If you make a mistake, if you do something that is wrong, you are potentially ruining a child's life. And I'm not willing, or I have not been willing, and I'm not ever going to be willing to take that chance or be in a position where, because of my lack of preparation, because of my lack of discipline, because of my lack of organization, allow that to happen to a young kid who hasn't had an opportunity to live their life. So between those two things, I think it's forced me to do that. I also have a lot of goals, right? I have a lot of things that I want to do. And I know the only way that's going to happen also is if I kind of organize myself and structure my day and make that happen. So there's a question in the chat. I see.
There's a question in the chat for you. Wait, I think that's James. James, you go ahead, and then we'll go to the chat.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to thank you for jumping onto our community call. We definitely appreciate you spending time with us. First of all,
James, I forgot to tell you, he your frat brother. Bye.
yeah. So absolutely. So definitely, we have a common bond. So I can definitely relate to a lot of things that you've been talking about with our community. One thing I wanted to ask you with respect to time, can you talk about accountability as it relates to time, preparation, and discipline, and how that plays into making what you do each and every day effective or not?
Right. So I'll go back to kind of what I talked about just a little bit, and I'll expand upon it, where you have to figure out what those things are that are important, right? So when you talk about accountability, obviously we're all accountable for something. And as it relates to time, we don't have an unlimited amount of time, but you have to identify what is the most important things that have to happen. Don't create task lists. What people tend to do is they create these check-offs, these to-do things. So when I talk about scheduling, I don't mean write it down so you can check it off just to say you've gotten it accomplished, because you can just write down 10 things that absolutely have no impact on outcomes for whatever it is that you're trying to do. They need to be big rocks, if you would. They need to be large things that you're trying to accomplish or have happen in your life, and you have to focus on those. So those would be where I would start. So I would start with those things, because those are, like I said, those are the most important things for you. And then kind of you can branch off and do some of those other things, because you don't have unlimited amount of time, and you want to have an impact. So you have to identify that. You're the only one that would be able to identify what's the most important thing for you at this particular moment in your life, because that changes. So from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, things that are important to you that used to be important to you, 5 or 6 days ago even, are not as important as they are right now. So once you identify that, it's ever changing. So I strongly suggest, like I kind of spoke to a little bit before, strongly suggest on Sunday or twice a week or whatever day you can really just sit down and plan your week. That's what I would do. And then you have to discipline yourself to make sure that it happens, and it becomes a habit. Like I said, you have to do it day in and day out. In the beginning, it's very hard. It's a struggle. It's rough, as you all know. But once you get into the routine and become accustomed to it, it becomes a lot easier. Hopefully that answered your question.
I appreciate that.
And the chat says, how you avoid being burned out or worn out with sleep deprivation?
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that question? We talked about this. Now, I'm not going to steal your answer, but
no, go ahead.
Maybe we can help each other out.
Sure.
I don't sleep a lot either. My wife is constantly on me. You learn how to sleep. You learn how to get effective sleep. There's a theory and practice of it, right? And so some experts would tell you that you can sleep 8 hours, but if they're not effective and impactful, you could have just took a nap. How many of you have took a power nap and woke up and been able to conquer the world? It was because you slept appropriately. It was sometimes impromptu, but you slept when needed. We've been told when we're supposed to go to sleep. Your body will often tell you. The body is an amazing device that when pushed to its limits will respond. But you also have to do a lot of other things, which Mr. Ingram will tell you he does. I don't do all of them as I should, but when I do them right, I definitely get better results. Probably a really appropriate person is James. I remember when James and I first met. James was going through a part of his life where he said, I'm going to set a new goal, man. I'm going to go professionally bodybuild and I'm going to beat the professionals. He wasn't getting that much sleep because he had to train, but his body was being used at its maximum orientation based on him studying it. And so, without stealing anything that Mr. Ingram might say, a lot of it is you learn how to sleep. When I go to sleep, I'm done. I am done. But when I get up, I'm ready. But go ahead, sir.
No, I mean, I agree with everything that you said. And you don't sleep when you're tired, you sleep when you're finished, right? But you also have to know your body. So I will by no means say if you cannot function on 3-4 hours or whatever your body's telling you to do, you need to do that. You need to listen to your body. But I remember hearing something, and again, I'm a quote guy, I listen, so I quote a lot of things from different people. TD Jakes even said it, heard him not too long ago, where he said there's a difference between sleep. He said you can get sleep, but you don't get rest. So there's a difference. So you can go to sleep for 8 hours and still be tired and not be able to accomplish your goals, or you can go to sleep for 4 hours and get everything accomplished. It's all about that sleep and that rest that you're getting. And you tend to get better rest and better sleep when your mind is at ease, when you've accomplished things, when you have a sense of satisfaction with your day and your accomplishments. You'll find that you don't need as much to continue to go the next day. Because if you're not getting that peaceful sleep, if you would, then that's where it becomes more challenging. So there is a distinct difference between the two. But I think that, again, once you feel a sense of happiness and accomplishment of what it is that you're doing, and you're feeling really good about it, that sleep becomes a little bit more peaceful, and you find yourself not needing as much.
Appreciate that as well.
Can I jump in there and ask a question? Would you agree that your body gets trained on how much sleep you need? Instead of you going off of the natural of 8 hours, you can train your body to actually take, 6 hours, then 5 hours, then 4 hours. Because you think about somebody who goes to the service that's been sleeping, 8 hours a day. When you get there, they train you, just like any other part of your body, they train you to actually focus on how much sleep you actually need.
Absolutely. And that's a prime example. I was just getting ready to use my father as an example. He was in the military, in the Army, and to this day, he still gets up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and needs minimal sleep. When you would think that he may need more sleep than the average adult, and he's going on 76 at this point, and he's still only sleeping a certain amount of hours a day. So yes, your body does get used to that. But again, everybody's body is different, and I don't want to say just work off of 3 or 4 if your body's not telling you to do that. You need to make sure you're good. But yes.
You also have to have a purpose that's worth getting up for, right? And so we hope that we're creating an environment that's worth you getting up for and making some sacrifices, because I think in the face of results, sacrifice seems minimal. When the results are lacking, the sacrifice seems a lot. I know we're coming up at the top of the hour here. We've been on for about an hour. There's something that you were telling people, students, anyone that would listen, the community. When I first met you, you don't call people by their first name. You don't call people by their last name. When you meet someone, and if you guys ever meet Mr. Ingram in person, he's gonna say, "What's up, boss?" He says it to everybody, male, female, what have you, and it's a term of endearment for him. Can you talk a little bit about what the boss mentality is for you and how you've infused that into the culture of really being a transformational leader, in my opinion, in a school district that was once an afterthought, and now your students are doing international things. And so what does boss mean to you before we close out? So when I call someone boss on this call, they understand that it's coming from a peer place.
Right. It got me in trouble early on because people were like, "What are you doing calling me the boss?" You don't know who you're talking to. They feel some kind of way. You know what I mean when you do that. But no, it stands for born outstanding, someone special. And what I do when I address students, adults, and whomever I come in contact, I just want people to feel important. I want people to realize how important they are. I don't know the exact statistic, but the chances of us being born is like 1 in 400 trillion or something like that, I believe is what the last statistic was. But it's like, I don't think people hear it enough. People are not encouraged enough. People are not spoken to positively enough in life to be able to accomplish. If you're not happy and you don't feel like people are supporting you and you don't feel loved and cared about, your chances of success and doing well are minimal. So we speak a lot about, structure, having your why and going hard and whatever you have to do, but you have to have somebody in your corner that feels like, they have your back or they're in your corner and they support you. So I use that term regularly. I use it very often, and I use it very intentionally because I want people to understand how important they truly are. So I got a new S after listening to something else today, so I can what's the word? Interchange one of those S's for
There you go.
specialized, right? Like, because not only are you born outstanding, someone special, you are born with a gift, right? To specialize in something. Nobody's a generalist. Nobody wants to just be great at doing everything. You have to find your niche, find your gift, focus on that gift, specialize, go hard, and just make it happen. So,
Mr. Ingram, it sounds like you have the ability to come back for a second call.
Let me schedule that in. Let me write that down.
Oh no, I need to be a part of those 19 hours you working on goals. But listen, family community, this has been our inaugural Motivational Mondays. I'm very fortunate to have the relationships that I have with the people that I do. And I'm fortunate that they value the things in my life that I value. To my wife, I want to thank you for your unwavering support. For most of y'all, I think y'all know, my wife is pregnant and she's letting me do all this while she's wrestling with my 50-pound 3-year-old who's a monster. So I'm gonna go get to that. But this is the importance for someone understanding your why. Because she understands my why, it's our why. You need to get a team together that understands your why, so it becomes our why. And that's what we're here for. So, Cousin Ed, I don't know if you have any closing remarks, or we can send it to James to close us out as well. But I really just appreciate you all showing up tonight. When we have the next one, please bring a friend. Again, this is for your strong friend who doesn't get the support. This is for your friend who's overlooked, or your family member who's overlooked, that may need a nudge in the right direction to walk in their purpose. More importantly, it's for you as Global FX Trade Club family to make sure that as your cup continually gets empty, someone is helping you replenish it and refill it. So, Mr. Ingram, thank you so much. Cousin Ed, any remarks from you? Mr. Vassar, any remarks?
I'll jump in before James does. Thank you once again, Mr. Ingram. We appreciate you much. Community, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Listen, we are here for you. We are here to serve and support. Trading is something that's separate, but we are here to serve and support. If you have any concerns, any thoughts about it, please reach out to myself or Destrian, or reach out to any leader in the group. But definitely myself and Destrian, we're looking to hear from you and get your feedback on what you think of tonight. So outside of that, I'll leave it back to James or Donnie, and we appreciate each and every one of y'all and love y'all.
Mr. Vassar, let me jump in really quickly before we turn it over to you. First of all, thank you so much. This has been an absolutely phenomenal call. I was just on with a prospect, and one of the things that I was sharing with, actually, it was a married couple, and they were pretty much kind of interviewing different trade organizations that they would want to come to, and the consensus was the fact that there are a lot of companies out there, or trade groups out that they just trade, right? And what they saw in us was the fact that we build the entire person. Again, we talk about offense, we talk about defense. This Motivational Mondays was absolutely phenomenal, and it showed just that, right? And so again, I just want to thank everybody for jumping on. Want to thank Mr. Ingram. Thank you to the leaders, Destrian, Cousin Ed. You guys are phenomenal. Again, thank you, Global FX Trade Club.
Yeah, I just want to echo that as well. Thank you, Noob, for jumping on and hosting our inaugural event. I know this won't be the last that we'll hear from you, so definitely looking forward to connecting for sure in person and throughout the years to come for sure. Thank you for the community for chiming in and participating in our inaugural event. I think, to me, this was one of the most valuable things that we can do, is pour into the mindset, because if you don't have the proper mindset, everything else that we teach you won't even matter. You won't have the proper mindset. Won't allow you, without the proper mindset, you won't be able to be a successful, consistent, disciplined trader, because it does take some time, which we talked about, to really learn the skill set, but more importantly, how to manage that time. So thank you for being a part of our inaugural event, Noob, and looking forward to connecting.
Family, you've heard from us all. I'll give the final words to Mr. Ingram. I have one request. For those who thought it was robbery to spend a little time on this call, light the chat up. Light the main chat up, light every affiliate chat up. We want to make sure that we're spreading the good news of Global FX Trade Club. And as Donnie and James both said, it's not just about the trading aspect. We're still in the middle of a global pandemic and people need an outlet. They need some positive reinforcement. And if we can be additive in any way along helping someone secure themselves and their financial future, but if we can also assist in aiding in the relief of their mental health, that's the goodwill that we do too, right? And so again, when we say we serve, that means that anyone tethered to you should be able to be positively impacted by it. So this is who we are and this is what we do, and we won't stop doing it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna do it bigger. We're gonna do it better, and we're gonna do it more often. And it's gonna be the sum, again, what we talk about all the time, the sum of the parts. Mr. Ingram has no skin in the game with the exception of wanting the best for the people that he knows that I care about. So thank you for being here, Mr. Ingram. I will give closing remarks to you, sir. You can tell everyone where to find you in terms of your various social media, your TV shows that you're doing and things of that nature. So please let the people know where you are, because you are worth an hour, brother.
So I appreciate it. And again, I don't want to hold you any longer. I definitely just appreciate all of you. Appreciate you, Mr. Wells and cousin Ed from previous conversation, and all of you who took the time to hear me tonight. I'm hopeful that the information that was shared is beneficial, that it can be applied. I definitely look forward to being a part of whatever you need me, Mr. Wells, to do. Having conversations, sharing other life stories or life things that are going to help improve, because that's what it's all about. It's about the overall improvement. In terms of following me or finding me, it is WorthAnHour. Just I can type it in the chat, probably easier since this is recorded anyway. But it's just WorthAnHour. The website is under construction right now, but that's just about finished. It's also WorthAnHour.com. So it's just WorthAnHour. That's about it. Not much more than that. TV channel is going to be changing. So right now it's Comcast, but again, that's for local. So I'm not sure who's on this call who's local. So it may not work for that, but it'll also
I think DETV might work for Facebook.
Yeah, they can probably go on Facebook to do it. So I'll put all that on there.
If you send it to me, I'll put it out. I'll put it out in the chat personally, because I definitely want them to see you. And for those of you who were asking about, hey, Destrian, who you were on TV with, this is the gentleman. Mr. Ingram hosted me for Community Crossfire. And again, more than a budding star in our community, but more importantly, he doesn't take himself too serious, and he's so about the people. Brother, we appreciate you, and you're welcome back with the blessing of the community at any time. But family, if you would, please light this chat up for this brother tonight, because what we want hundreds, and then we want 500, and then we want thousands on these calls, because we need to be speaking to the issues that are directly affecting our people. If you can commit to that, please drop some sevens in the chat. More importantly, if you feel like you're walking away in a more advanced person when you came on this call, please drop some 111s in the chat. Let Mr. Ingram know that the message resonated and it hit home. Again, so appreciate you, man. This is a huge part of being successful at anything you do. Believing and feeling good about yourself, and we want to do more of this. So Motivational Mondays are here, family. Cousin Ed and I will be diligently taking your feedback, so please give it to us. Give it to us. So you know how we do. I'm gonna stop screen share. Hang out with me for a few minutes if you'd like, but I'm gonna take us out the same way we come in. All right, we're gonna listen to some nice music, take us out. Mr. Ingram, feel free to stay around a little bit for the family reunion if you want, for those who missed the earlier parts.